Good morning, guys. How's it going? It is a beautiful day out, Memorial Day. So I got none other than the hat on, as well as the tank top, and I'm sure you guys can see my little farmer's tan, you know what I mean, that I had out when I was out the other day. But yeah. So today's topic is going to be about some of the tells, the very subtle tells that, well, you know, your man's probably pretty crazy, or the guy that you like or dated, whatever, is probably fucking nuts. So I wanted to make a video about this because number one, it's very real. I know that, of course, you know, society likes to hype up and likes to glorify you know, the crazy woman rather than the crazy man. And you know, some people out there, I guess they just like to pretend that there's no such thing as a crazy man. But yeah, no, trust me, there are definitely crazy men out there. So stay tuned, because we're about to get into it.
I know you told your friend you're not okay.
So guys, I'm going to give you just like, I guess, a couple of things, a couple of very subtle instances, things that maybe are some subtle tells. And then I'm going to get into a bit of a story time. It's the first time, I guess, I've really done a quote-unquote story time in one of my videos, but I am going to tell you guys a story. It is based on a real story, of course, about the time that I actually had to deal with a guy who was pretty crazy. And no, you know, it's not that I was dating a guy and he was crazy by any means. No, it was actually a girl that I started dating, and she had a very crazy ex-boyfriend who was really out there, and yeah, it got crazy to say the least. So first and foremost, ladies, I want to tell you, I really do actually just want to kind of put something out there real quick, you know, before I get into some of the subtleties of things. What I'm about to tell you, take with a grain of salt, because not every guy obviously is this way. But you know, there are some things, of course, you know, you may not even really be able to make out or tell about a man. But what I'm basically trying to tell you is be very careful, okay? You know, I know that they say, you know, like I said, society glorifies the crazy woman, you know, glorifies the woman who goes and, you know, keys a man's car, or, you know, takes a bat and, you know, runs up on his car and smashes out his windows, or, you know, breaks this or breaks that or whatever. And yeah, you know, that might all be true, but what I want to tell you guys though, or, you know, specifically to you ladies, is just be very careful. You know, the simple fact of the matter is that there are men out there who are literally crazy, and do certain things and are very unhinged, and ultimately do wind up hurting the woman that they're in a relationship with. I don't know the statistics really anymore. I looked them up several years ago. You know, violence against women is a very real thing. And you know, sometimes these women, you know, you guys are not aware really that you're, you know, in a relationship with somebody who's potentially very dangerous or very harmful or very crazy. And sometimes, you know, really nasty and really bad things happen after a while. So just be very careful, you know, because by far, I believe, between the two sexes, as far as physical harm and death, there are more men that kill women than women that kill men. I mean, from a literal standpoint, you know, there's like homicides, you know, a lot of times, you know, if you hear about a woman who goes missing, or, you know, she just winds up dead, or, you know, hurt or seriously injured, a lot of times it's because she was either killed or, you know, harmed physically by the man that she was with. My point is just be very careful, think about your own safety, and keep yourselves safe. Okay, but without further ado, let's go ahead and let's get into it. Number one, ladies, and honestly, these things are really just all gonna be off the top of my head. I'm just gonna go ahead and go ahead and say it, but number one I'm gonna have to say, if your man or the guy that you like or a guy that likes you, okay, you don't even have to be in a relationship with him, but if he just randomly shows up at your apartment or he randomly shows up wherever you are, like let's just say, you know, you have your location turned on Snapchat, or you are somewhere, you're at like a festival, or you're just at your friend's house, so-and-so's house, something of that sort, like a mutual friend's house, and you post something on Instagram. That's the other thing too, be careful as to what you post and, you know, your location and all that other good stuff. But and if he just randomly shows up, like you did not expect him to be there at all, he really doesn't have any affiliation with that particular area or anybody that's in there, and he just shows up and he just comes up to you, especially if it's a guy that you like, you know, and like, you know, likes you a lot or whatever, and he just shows up out of nowhere, and you know, you hadn't been answering him, and he just comes up to you and he's just like, hey, what the hell are you doing? Like, why haven't you been answering my texts? That sort of thing. Like, I know deep down some of you ladies, you know, you think that's kind of cute, that you think it's kind of attractive, like, ooh, like, or whatever, something like, you know, I've heard a lot of women say that, but that is a small tell right there that he's probably a little nuts, okay? You know, just be very careful of that, okay? You know, like I said, you know, if he just shows up somewhere, like, you know, like wherever you are, he just shows up at your apartment, your house, or anything, he's probably a little crazy. Not saying that he'll go all out and he'll freaking, you know, hurt you or anything. I'm not saying that at all, but you know, that's a very subtle tell right there. You know, he might be just a little nuts. Now, it's different if he's trying to surprise you with something, okay? Like if he just shows up, like, you know, if you two have a great relationship, and if he shows up at your apartment and he surprises you with flowers and chocolate and that sort of thing, like if he says, hey, come to the door, or hey, look out your window, okay? And he's there, he's standing there, and he's trying to be romantic, and he's got flowers or something like that, that's different, okay? You know, that's just honestly a man who really cares and, you know, really loves you a lot. But what I'm saying is if you haven't answered him, and he just shows up, or, you know, maybe you're busy or something like that, okay, and you just, you know, haven't paid attention to your phone, and he just shows up out of nowhere, that right there, you know, that's a little crazy, okay? Number 2, ladies, be very careful too as to what he says, okay? Like literally the words that come out of his mouth. If he sits there and he says certain things to you, like he says anything kind of out there that's like, you know, I'm gonna like lock you away in my basement or something like that, or I'm gonna do this, and you know, I'll never let you leave, you're mine forever, whether you like it or not, anything of that sort, you know, I've heard of some guys that will sit there and they'll do that just to be, you know, kind of weird, I guess, and you know, but ultimately just trying to show their affection and show some odd affection, if you will. I've heard certain stories. I've had some friends of mine that are girls who have told me that that's what their, you know, their boyfriends or husbands or whatever have said at certain points. But either way, just be very careful of that, because sometimes, you know, you never know. I mean, so just be very careful as to what he says. If he's there and, you know, he suddenly, you know, describes certain graphic things a little too perfectly, and it comes off a little too natural for him, you know, things that are, you know, obviously pretty crazy, some, you know, some horror story type of shit, like if he says, hey, I'm gonna lock you away in my basement, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, blah, blah, you're never allowed to leave, you will never leave me, that sort of thing. Be very careful. Just be extremely careful of that. Have it in the back of your mind, all right? Just be very careful. The third thing I will say is him laying hands on you. You know, now, number 1, ladies, obviously, if your man ever lays hands on you, okay, any guy, all right, whether he's your boyfriend, husband, or not, friend, okay, because, yeah, that's the other thing, too. Be careful of your guy friends, ladies, okay? You know, I'm gonna kind of go a little off topic here, and I'm just gonna say it, okay? If you, ladies, you have guy friends, okay, 9 times out of 10, guy friend he's not really your guy friend, okay? He's a guy that's there, that's waiting so he can shoot his shot, make his move in for the kill, okay? He's there, he likes you, okay? 9 times out of 10, he likes you, he wants to sleep with you, he wants to do whatever, okay? So when your boyfriend, right, if you get a boyfriend and you got a bunch of guy friends or a couple of close guy friends or even just one guy friend and he's getting upset and he's saying all these things about he likes you and this and that, trust me, believe him, he's correct, okay? We as men, we know, like, you're our girlfriend, okay? Like, you're with us. And we see guys, okay? Like, we just walk out in public. Like I tell you, I see it all the time. You know, whenever I was like, you know, with any of my ex-girlfriends, okay? Any of my ex-girlfriends, every time we walked out in the public, I would always see every guy was like looking at her, okay? And I knew exactly what they were thinking. Like a lot of times the guy friends too, okay? You know, some of my girlfriends in the past, they had guy friends and I could just tell, I knew some of these guys, like I would just, sometimes I wouldn't even really meet them, but I could just tell they had a thing for my girlfriend. And so ladies, you know, if your man is getting a little upset at you because you have a guy friend, it's warranted, okay? It really is. Listen to him, consider his feelings, you know, work it out with him. Yeah, so I'm not gonna say much else when it comes to that, but anyway, whether it's your boyfriend, your guy friend, a complete stranger, anybody that you just kind of randomly meet or whatever, you know, any guy that seriously does put his hands on you, be very careful. That right there is that's not a subtle tell, that's a tall tell sign, okay? He may hurt you. Another one, number 4. This one just came to my mind. If he has an utter disregard towards animals, okay? I'm talking if he has a history, like you know for sure, or you have seen him hurt animals, okay? Whether it's a dog, a cat, anything, a turtle, a goose, whatever. Be very careful, okay? Men, in my opinion, that are out there and that want and can do harm to animals. It's one thing if the animal is attacking him and he's acting in self-defense, but anyone that seriously is out there and wants to do harm to animals, be careful of that guy. I'm gonna say this last one and then I'll get into the story time. It's one thing to be territorial. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with a man being territorial about his woman, okay? But what I mean is if you're out there and he wants to start fights with guys that are either just, you know, looking at you. It's one thing if a guy out there in public is being a little too, if he's being creepy and it's getting to the point where it's making the both of you uncomfortable and he says something to the guy, he kind of lightly or just kindly approaches the man as a bit like, hey buddy, look, like I understand you're looking at my really hot girlfriend. I know she's really hot. That's why I'm with her, blah, 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 that sort of thing. But hey, you know, could you please just mind your own business and look in the other direction? That's one thing. But if he just comes right off the bat and he's just looking like any guy that remotely looks over in your direction or whatever, and he's just, you know, he's there and he puffs out his chest and he's like, yo, I'm gonna fuck you up. I'm gonna do this, or he does anything of that sort. That's kind of crazy right there. That's actually, no, I will say this, that's not kind of crazy, it is crazy, okay? You know, the simple fact of the matter is, you know, guys, I know, like, at the end of the day, you know, we have to deal with, you know, other men, you know, wanting to be with our girlfriends and, you know, looking at them and that sort of thing, you know, like I said, but for the most part, you gotta tolerate it to a certain extent. Because, you know, the simple fact of the matter is you can't go out there and you can't fight every single guy that, you know, looks at your girlfriend or that sort of thing. Like I said, it's one thing if they're really being disruptive and if they're, you know, sexualizing or threatening your girlfriend's safety or her space or that sort of thing, you know, that's different. But, you know, if a guy, you know, you just walk past or whatever and they're just like, they kind of look or something like that, you know, that's just something, honestly, you know, your man has to tolerate, you know. But if, like I said, if he's like jumping up and he's there puffing out his chest and he's like taking his shirt off, like, yo, like, let's go ahead, let's box, let's do this, do that, whatever. Like, that's crazy right there. Be careful. Be very careful of that guy. So yeah. Okay, guys, now for the story time. I was 22 at the time. Yeah, this was a while ago. I was attending the local community college that I, went to back at that time. And, the way it was is, you went to class, you did, your thing, and a lot of people hung out in the cafeteria lounge or whatever, that sort of thing, because it was pretty big. A lot of people, they went in there, they studied, they got food, they just communed, they had fun, did whatever, and of course, just walking around, you know how it is, you go to school, you always look around, you see, the cute girls. There was this girl that I saw, never really knew her before. She was a very good looking girl. And, so I was very interested in her. So every time I kind of saw her, it was a little bit like, I was turning and kind of look at her, and I would see her just kind of turn and she'd kind of look at me. And, it got to this point where it was a little strange. Like we were always constantly like staring at each other. And we didn't really talk to each other for like, it was weird. Like we always just kind of looked at each other, and we always acknowledged each other's presence, like with, hey, like, I see you, I know you're there. I don't know, I guess neither of us really mustered up the courage to talk to each other for a while. We did not talk, we were always aware of each other, we never really spoke to each other though. It took like a month or two, maybe, for us to kind of talk to each other, whatever. I just randomly saw her like on like social media, like she was like kind of under like a people you may know type of thing or something like that, I don't know. Like, oh, like this person also goes to your school, something like that. And like I just saw the picture and I looked and I was like, so, I added her, of course, and as soon as I added her, she of course approved it and she hit me up right away. She just sent me a message and she was like, hey, like, we go to the same school, what's up? Like, I always see you all the time, like, how's it going, blah, blah, blah. And, so, and I was just like, I don't know, I was just like really, I was happy when she hit me up, and stuff. And she was, she was really nice, and she just, I don't know, she just started a good conversation. So, I was there, and, at that time too, when I was 22 years old, I was so, I don't know, I was just trying to act like a big macho guy and was trying to act like, oh, like I didn't care and whatever, and I wasn't really into it or whatever. I was trying way too hard, I think, or maybe not way too hard, but I was kind of trying hard to just be the cool guy that played everything off. So, so of course, I gave her some conversation, didn't really give her a whole lot, and she was just kind of like, okay, like this guy, whatever. So, and then of course I hit her up afterwards because I was like, no, I was like, come back. I was like, let's talk. So I hit her up and I was like, let's meet sometime. Let's go grab food and, let's get to know each other. So we did, we got food together, and, we went out on like a date or two. She's a nice girl, but she definitely, I mean, of course, you're 21, 22 years old. You got a lot of things going on in your life, a lot of drama, of course, you know what I mean? And I think she had just told me, actually, because we were talking about our past relationships, and it was odd because she went to high school with the girl that I dated, that the last girl at that time that I had a really, long and serious relationship with. She knew her, she went to high school with her, she knew a lot of the girls that I guess I had dated in the past, and, whatever and stuff. So it was kind of weird. And I knew some of the guys that she had dated, that sort of thing. And the place that I live in, it's a very small town, small state. everybody knows each other. If you come across somebody that you don't know, they know like 2,000 people that know you. And out of those 2,000 people, like at least 500 or 600 of them know you really well. We're talking, these were your neighbors, people, you know, you grew up with, this was your best friend at some point, that sort of thing. So, you know, it was kind of funny. But one of the things that she was telling me was, you know, she was saying how she had just gotten out of a relationship, actually, like just like maybe 2-3 weeks or something like that, I don't know, prior. And I was like, oh, I was like, okay. And she was like, yeah, she goes, my ex-boyfriend is really crazy. Like, she just said that out and out. And I was like, oh, well, how's that? And she just goes, well, you know, there's this guy that I had class with or something, and he would just come, he would talk to me. We sat next to each other, and, you know, we would get up and we would leave class together. He was always waiting for me every time that I left class. He was just like waiting for her. Well, you know, the boyfriend did not take kindly to the male friend. And instead of talking to her, I guess, about it and, you know, kind of addressing things with her, he automatically just got crazy. And that's the other thing, ladies, you know, as I kind of just talked about a little bit ago, which is be careful if he out and out just comes and he comes after anybody else that's around you, you know, any guy that's around you, just, you know, be very careful. But that's exactly what he did. He approached, you know, from what she told me, the story that she told me, he approached the guy, this friend, and he was just like, hey, you know, what the fuck do you think you're doing? This is my girl, blah, blah, blah. And apparently he was just kind of like, yo, like, look, like, I got nothing to do with this. Like, you know, we're just friends. You know, we have the same class together. You know, we work on the same homework problems, whatever, that sort of shit or something like that. That's all it is. And he just said something like, you know, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, guess what? Like, if you know, continue this or something like that, you know, there's going to be a problem. And he was just kind of like, well, yeah, sure, whatever. And, you know, it just kind of, you know, went on from there. And then the next, like, 1 or 2 times they saw each other, like, he was there, he was waiting outside of the classroom, and, you know, they got up and they were leaving together, and, you know, he went up to the guy again and was like, yo, like, I'm done telling you. He was like, I'm gonna fuck you up if you continue this. Like, if you're here, you're with her, that sort of thing. And then finally, you know, the friend, he had just had it at that point, I guess. He was just a little bit like, dude, look, like, your girl, she comes and she sits next to me. You know, she comes and she talks to me, this sort of thing. And, you know, you got to talk to her about that because it's not me, you know what I mean? And he was just kind of like, oh, well, you know, long story short, the two of them wound up actually getting into a physical fight. I guess he got angry at him, you know, he struck him, and they actually wound up getting into a physical fight. You know, I don't really know what happened after that. I don't know if any, like, charges were filed, that sort of, like, I honestly couldn't tell you, I really don't know. But, so she's telling me all these things. I really didn't think anything of it because I'm just like, okay, like, you know, really, it wasn't me. It's got nothing to do with me. I really don't care. So I was just like, whatever. But then one day she and I, you know, we're eating lunch together, you know, just kind of in between classes. And then, so I'm there, you know, she's there, you know, and then I see this guy who just kind of walks up behind her. And like, he, you know, is there, and then like he kind of like leans in, like, you know, like she's like sitting, and he kind of like leans in, and she's like, whoa, like she's like totally scared. She goes, who the hell is this? And then like he's there, and he's just kind of like, hey, blah, 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 or something. And she's like, whoa, like, what the hell are you doing? And then it was funny, he turned and he looked at me. He just gave me this look, and I could tell, like, he had this look on his face, so like, who the fuck is this? And then like, he like looks down at her, he like whispers something to her, and then she was like, no, 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 no. And then like he whispered something else. So I'm there and I'm looking, I'm like, and, you know, I'm just quiet, just watching the whole thing. And then she gets up and she kind of looks at me and she just goes, hey, I have to go. I will talk to you later though, okay? So I kind of thought to myself, you know, okay, there's obviously something going on, you know, between her and this person. She's gonna go and she's gonna handle it. So she went. You know, she left for about, I'm gonna say 5 to 10 minutes. She then came back after 5 to 10 minutes, and she sat down, and she kind of, you know, she did not look happy. She looked just kind of not depressed, but just a little bit like what the hell. And she just looked at me and she goes, hey, like, look, I just want to let you know, that guy right there was my ex-boyfriend. He just was saying that, you know, he and I were not over, and that, you know, I belong to him, and that, you know, he wants to fight you, he wants to do all this stuff, whatever. And I was just there, and like, you know, I'm not gonna say what I said or what I did after that at that point, but I was just a little bit like, so I just, you know, but ultimately right then and there in that situation, I let it go. I let it go, and you know, and then, you know, so she and I, you know, we got up, and, you know, we just, I don't know, we just went about our day, and, you know, we continued with things. And then again, it was like a couple days later, we were there in between classes, and this guy, I mean, he just walked up. It was weird. He walked up, and he, like, again, like, kind of surprised her again, and surprised me too that he was even still there. And then it's funny, like, he comes and he sits down with us, and then he's there, and, like, you know, he looks over at me, he smiles at me, and then he puts his hand out. He puts his hand out, and he goes, yo, what's up, man? He goes, you know, what's your name? Like, you know, my name's so-and-so, whatever. Like, how you doing? Like, you know, he puts his hand, you know, he put his hand out trying to shake my hand. But, you know, he was just there not long ago talking about, you know, all this smack about whatever. So at that point there, I mean, you know, I was a little bit younger at the time. I was much more, I don't know, in some ways I was a little bit more out there back then at that time than I am now. Most definitely, I can say that a billion %. So of course at that point right there, I kind of looked at him and I was just like, dude, you can't be fucking serious. And he looks at me, he was like, what you mean? Like, what are you saying? And stuff, like, he couldn't believe what I was saying. And I just looked at him, I was like, dude, I heard about all that shit you were talking about me, like you just said the other day. I was like, don't try to sit here and shake my fucking hand or whatever. And he was like, oh, what are you scared of this or whatever? And I looked at him, I was like, I'm not scared of you, man. And he was just like, oh, well, and then like he didn't know what to say. He was just there, like, I think he was surprised. He was surprised by my reaction to him. And I guess he expected, you know, me to just be all kind of like cool with him or whatever at that point. So, you know, he got, you know, so then he got upset. He then stood up and, you know, he kind of backed up a little bit. He then pulled out his phone and he was mumbling something. He said something, I don't know. And then, you know, he's like there and or whatever. And then he walked away. He walked away after, you know, I don't know, I'd say maybe about 5 minutes or so. And then it was time to go to class. So, you know, me and the girl, you know, we went to class, and, you know, her class was just, you know, a few halls down or whatever. It was weird. The guy, you know, her ex-boyfriend then, I guess he found out, he knew where I was and which classroom I was. So he had a friend that, I guess, you know, I guess, I don't know, he wasn't confident enough, I guess, that, you know, I guess he wanted to fight me, but he wasn't confident enough in his skills or whatever he had going on, you know, thinking that he could win. So he called one of his friends to come and support him and to, you know, possibly do like a 2-on-1 type of thing. That's the only thing I can think of. I mean, why else would you call your friend to, you know, come and confront some other guy? So, you know, they kind of saw me from a distance and were like, yo, they said, come here. So I got up and I walked out, and it's him and his friend right there. And he just looks at me and he was just like this. He was just like, look, he goes, dude, I'm just gonna tell you this. He says, that is my girl. She's this, whatever, that, and stuff, like, you know, you can't spend time with her, you can't be with her, you can't, you know, whatever. And I just kind of looked at him and I was like, well, like, you know, according to her, you are not together, you know, and I don't know, I was a little bit petty back then, and I was just like, she's mine now. And And he just kind of looked at me like he was surprised when I said that too. I mean, because he thought, you know, he had both him and his friend right there. You know, I knew the two of them were gonna try to, you know, fuck me up. But he just looked at me and he was just kind of like, well, you know, when class is over and the rest of the stuff or whatever, you know, I'm gonna be right here. You know, don't be scared, man. You know, whatever, that sort of shit. And then, you know, him and his friend, you know, they just walked away at that point. And of course, you know, and the class came, you know, nothing came of it. You know, I don't know why. I mean, I guess, you know, he was afraid to fight me, but, you know, he wasn't afraid to fight the guy friend that she had and stuff. So things went on, you know, we went on a few more dates. And then, you know, the girl that I, you know, was with, of course, you know, she went ahead and she handled it. Which was good, you know what I mean? She understood that it was a problem, you know, really that had everything to do with him and her and really nothing to do with me. And she just went ahead and was like, look, like, I'm sorry that all this is going on. It really doesn't involve you. This is something I need to take care of. I will take care of this. And she did. The two of them, I don't know exactly like all the details, but basically she did actually wind up getting a restraining order on the guy. You know, he of course was served some sort of papers, like a restraining order papers, whatever they, you know, call those things. And he was even apparently, according to her, you know, the police actually did show up at his house and they were just like, look, like, we're just letting you know. I guess, you know, maybe they were there serving him the papers, kind of like, look, like, you know, this is a court order to stay away from her, you know, and we're just letting you know if anything like this does occur again and, you know, this continues, you know, you will be arrested, that sort of thing. And, you know, that pretty much ended that situation from there. But, you know, that's the story basically. And she and I, you know, we kind of went on, you know, we dated for a while and stuff, and it was all good. But yeah, but that's the thing, ladies, like that story that I just told you, basically that does cover a lot of the things that I gave you, or that I did say in the beginning, as far as, you know, signs that the guy's, you know, freaking nuts. So yeah, so like I said, just be very careful, you know, because like I said, violence against women is a very real thing. You know, I'm not saying that to be all preachy, but, you know, I'm just saying it's a fact. It's very matter of fact. So just be very careful, you know. I mean, even if you're not winding, you know, even if you don't wind up being like physically harmed in the end, you know, it's still, it's an inconvenience. It's an inconvenience to say the least. And it can be disruptive in your daily life. So, I mean, just be careful and, you know, do things to prevent, I guess, being involved with men that are like that. So yeah. But anyway, happy Memorial Day, all of you. Be safe, have fun. I will talk to all of you guys soon. Stay tuned, because some really good and big things have happened lately, and I will be sharing all of those things with you guys in a very short amount of time. So thank you all. I really appreciate everything. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and subscribe and turn on post notifications. I would greatly appreciate it. And I will see you all very soon.